On the night of April 26, 2009, 17-year-old Brittanee Drexel left the hotel in Myrtle Beach, where she was staying during spring break with a group of friends. On the evening of April 25th, she headed to another nearby hotel where her friend was staying. This was the last time Brittanee was seen, and the last known information about her at the time of her disappearance. After more than 10 years of searching, in 2022, the mystery of 17-year-old Brittanee Drexel's disappearance was finally solved. Brittanee Drexel was born in Rochester, New York on October 7, 1991. Her parents were teenagers and unmarried when she was born. After Brittanee's birth, her mother Dawn stopped seeing Brittanee's biological father and later married Chad Drexel, who adopted the girl. Brittanee was blind in one eye from childhood. To conceal this, she wore contact lenses that gave her eyes an unusual blue color. In April 2009, Brittanee asked her mother for permission to go to the resort town of Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, with friends and other students for spring break. However, her mother refused as she did not know Brittanee's friends well enough. There were no adults accompanying them, and she generally considered such a trip unsafe. A standard conflict situation that often occurs between teenagers and adults in a family led to an argument between them for several days. Unable to get permission to go to the coast with her friends, on April 22, 2009, Brittanee asked her mother for permission to visit a friend for a couple of days, and Dawn agreed. But instead, on the same day, Brittanee left for South Carolina without telling her mother. 3 days after she and other students arrived at the Bar Harbor Hotel in Myrtle Beach, Brittanee called her mother and said she was already at the beach. Her mother was not alarmed, assuming that Brittanee was referring to the beach along Lake Ontario where her friend lived, as the temperature in the Rochester area that day had reached an unusual 28 degrees Celsius. Around 8 p.m. on April 25, 2009, Brittanee left her friends at the beach near the Bar Harbor Hotel where the group was having fun and headed along the coastal boulevard to the Blue Water Resort, about 2 kilometers from her hotel, to visit a friend. Surveillance cameras at the Blue Water Resort captured her entering. At that time, Brittanee was wearing a black and white top, flip-flops, and shorts, and she was carrying a beige purse. The cameras also recorded her leaving at 8:45 p.m. that same day. Throughout the evening, Brittanee was exchanging messages with her boyfriend, John Greco, who remained in the Rochester area for work and couldn't join Brittanee on her trip. Around 9:15 p.m., messages from Brittanee ceased. She also stopped answering his calls. Later, John started calling Brittanee's friends in Myrtle Beach to find out where she was and why she wasn't responding to calls and messages. However, none of her friends knew where she was, and they couldn't contact her either. When these efforts failed, John called Brittanee's mother, who was unaware that her daughter was in Myrtle Beach. Upon learning the situation, her parents immediately contacted the Rochester police, hoping they could coordinate with their colleagues in South Carolina to search for their daughter. Meanwhile, calls and messages to Brittanee's phone went unanswered. The Myrtle Beach police, informed by their colleagues and Brittanee's parents, began searching for Brittanee Drexel the next morning. They retrieved surveillance footage from the Blue Water Resort, interviewed potential witnesses, and discovered that the last person to see Brittanee before she left the hotel was Peter Brozowitz, a 20-year-old nightclub promoter who knew Brittanee from Rochester and was also vacationing in Myrtle Beach. According to his statements, they had met at a local nightclub the previous night. After questioning Brozowitz and his friends staying with him at the hotel, the police stated that no one is excluded from the list of suspects. The police also inspected the room where Brittanee was staying. Everything was in place except for a small beige purse and her pink cell phone. The police requested activity data from Brittanee's mobile carrier. The data indicated movement southward, about 97 kilometers from Myrtle Beach, in the area between Georgetown and Charleston, along Highway 17. The phone stopped sending signals early on April 26. For 11 days, search operations were conducted along the phone signal path toward Georgetown, as well as in Myrtle Beach and its surroundings, but no traces of Brittanee or witnesses who had seen her were found. After several years of unsuccessful searches, in June 2016, the FBI held a press conference stating their main theory that Brittanee Drexel was killed shortly after her disappearance. According to the investigation, she was abducted from Myrtle Beach and taken somewhere near Georgetown, close to the last location where her phone signals were detected. The FBI offered a $25,000 reward for any information leading to the case's resolution. 2 months after this press conference in 2016, the Charleston Post reported on events during a hearing for Timothy Taylor, unrelated to Brittanee's disappearance. At the time, Taylor was already serving a state prison sentence. At the hearing, FBI agent Garrick Munoz testified that Taquan Brown, another inmate serving 25 years for murder, told FBI agents that in 2009, shortly after Brittanee Drexel's disappearance, he met with Timothy Taylor's father at his house. Brown said he saw Taylor with Brittanee Drexel while passing through the house. Seeing Brittanee, he quickly walked by and went to the backyard where he spoke with Taylor's father about criminal matters. During their conversation, he heard screams and later learned it was because Brittanee tried to escape. After some time, he heard 2 gunshots. Taylor's lawyer called the new accusation pressure, based on statements from 2 inmate informants without any evidence. In June 2017, Taylor took a polygraph test regarding Brittanee's disappearance. Some answers were flagged as false by the FBI. However, no new evidence linking Taylor to Brittanee's abduction was found. From 2009 to 2022, the investigation had no concrete evidence or confirmed theories about Brittanee's disappearance. They could not identify anyone involved or determine what happened to her. In early May 2022, Raymond Moody, a 62-year-old criminal previously convicted of sex crimes, turned himself in to the Georgetown County Sheriff's Office. It's worth noting that police initially considered Moody a suspect in Brittanee Drexel's disappearance in 2012, but did not pursue this lead further for unknown reasons. Moody confessed to the crime and disclosed the location of Brittanee's remains. The FBI conducted excavations at the site Moody indicated for 3 days. On May 11, 2022, human remains were found buried in a forest at the gate of a private road outside Georgetown. They were later identified as Brittanee Drexel's remains through DNA testing and dental records comparison. The remains were found about 4 kilometers from the motel where Moody stayed the day Brittanee disappeared. On October 19, 2022, Raymond Moody pleaded guilty to kidnapping and murdering Brittanee Drexel. He was sentenced to life imprisonment for murder, plus 30 years for kidnapping and rape. After more than a decade, the mysterious disappearance of 17-year-old Brittanee Drexel was finally solved. And if you found this video informative or thought-provoking, please give it a like. Your support means the world to us. Thank you for watching and for joining us on this journey of discovery and remembrance.